Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Bonnie Adderstrom. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm the Assistant Events Director here at Brookline Booksmith. Today, it is my pleasure to host three incredible Massachusetts-based poets, Rage Hezekiah, Syan J, and Stevie Subrizi. Before I introduce our poets, I have just a few housekeeping notes. Firstly, copies of Rage and Syan's books are going to be available for sale in the back counter there. Unfortunately, we were unable to get Stevie's book in, but there are cards with QR codes on them, and you can scan those to order copies online and have them shipped to you. I do encourage you all to really support the work of these incredible poets, and that means, buying books. It can just be checking them out online, or, just saying nice things. Support your local artists. Secondly, y'all are doing great at this already, but masks are required for this event. If you need extra, I have some over in the back counter there. Also, the event is being live streamed over on that iPad. Y'all are not visible to our live stream audience, but if you don't want to be live on YouTube, just don't walk in front of it and you'll be all set. All right, I do want to share with all of you that this event is actually the beginning of what will become a monthly reading series here at Brookline Booksmith. I'm really excited to expand our poetry programming. In the past couple of years, we haven't gotten a chance to host as many poetry events as we'd like, so it's really exciting to celebrate the work of artists from Massachusetts and beyond. We'll be hosting group readings on the third Thursday of each month, and in the next week or two, we'll be announcing our August lineup, so stay tuned, check out our website. And also, if you have any feedback, questions, suggestions, I'll be hanging around. You'll see me. I'll be bopping about. Feel free to let me know, or just say hi. And I really appreciate your support of this series, of Brookline Booksmith, and of our incredible poets. So thank you for being here. Finally, introductions. Rage Hezekiah is a Cave Canem, Ragdale, and McDowell Fellow who earned her MFA from Emerson College, which happens to be my alma mater, so lovely to meet a fellow alum. She is a recipient of the St. Botolph Emerging Artist Award, and she serves as interviews editor at The Common. She's the author of Unslakable and Stray Harbor. Rage's poems have appeared in the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day, the Cincinnati Review, the Colorado Review, and many other journals and anthologies. Syan J is the author of Bury Me in Thunder, published by Sundress Publications. They are of Inde Nation descent. They were the winner of the 2018 Pacific Poetry Prize and Frontier Poetry's 2019 Frontier New Voices Fellow. Their work has appeared in The Shallow Ends, Wildness, Bee Stung, which is a personal favorite magazine of mine. If you guys haven't heard of Bee Stung, check it out, and Black Warrior Review, among others. They live in occupied Massachusetts homelands. And finally, Stevie Subrizi is a genderqueer poet and singer-songwriter based in Allston, Massachusetts. They are a former member of the punky folk duo Crazy X's from Hell, and they also co-hosted the Boston Poetry Slam for a time at the Cantab Lounge. Their poems have appeared in Nailed, Freeze Ray, and Neon, among others. Their chapbook, Alone and Naked Inside of a Whale, won Yamasee Journal's 2021 Poetry Chapbook Contest, judged by Dustin Pearson. Now, without further ado, everyone please give a warm welcome to our three incredible poets.
Hi, y'all. I'm really happy to be here. Is this still on? No. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thanks, y'all. I'm really happy to see so many familiar faces. Thanks, y'all, for being here. I'm going to be reading from my new collection, which explores the body and desire. So I'm going to start with the first poem in the book. Now I'm looking at this being like, are you going to read this one? I'm going to read First poem in the book. Consent. I took him in my mouth at 14. braced for the jolt of hot liquid, acrid, unwelcome. I didn't learn consent until 23, fucking a woman who needed yes with every action, asking, can I touch you here? Is this okay? I learned possession of my body, the unexpected agency of pleasure. I was oblivious until she held me from the inside while I sobbed, her mouth soft on my carpal. I bellowed deep and loud, howled a chasm, open as a peony. When I was submitting poems for this book, rejection is just part of the thing that happens constantly, and that's totally fine. Because this book is so personal to me, the rejections felt personal. And editors say things sometimes like, is this a poem? Do I want that feedback? So this is a found poem from all of the rejection letters that I received while writing this book. And this is just kind of like the rote language that every rejection letter has. So this is called Not For Us. We have carefully considered, we have decided against, we've decided not to accept, we decided not to take, we decided to pass, we're going to pass, we'll have to pass, we must pass, we regret, we must decline, we will not be taking, won't be taking, will not likely accept. We cannot accept, can't accept, are not accepting. We don't feel it is right. Not cohesive enough, not quite suited, not quite right, not right for us, not the right fit, not a fit, not quite a fit. No, not now. Didn't quite land with us, doesn't fit, do not fit, didn't feel quite right. Didn't fit just right, isn't a good fit. Didn't feel it, wasn't right, wasn't chosen, wasn't a fit. Does not work. Does not meet our needs, does not meet the needs, do not meet our current needs. Best wishes. We wish you the best. We wish you luck, best of luck, elsewhere. That poem got published very quickly. I feel like editors were like, is that what we say? Oh, okay. Northern California. You stood at the edge of the stone fruit orchard while I scaled the ladder, a picking basket against my belly, brimming with shiny ripe plums. Father, you came to California willing to farm at my side, practice shattered Spanish with men I befriended. When I left after lunch to get high, you never said a word about the workday. You let me be guiltless and young. On the weekend, we cruised the 101, ate green tea ice cream beneath eucalyptus, air salted sweet. We wandered near beach in tranquil awe until surf chased us back toward the dunes, pants heavy wet, both laughing. Before you learned to swim and I learned black joy, we doubled over, taunting each crested, broken wave, at play with an ancient tide, wide grins agleam in the sun. This book deals a lot with alcoholism and addiction, and this poem is about a dear friend. Syan Delight. You've nodded out at dinner again, having just used or needing more, the shell of you collapsing. I want to trust your alphabet of lies, my denial, a cardigan pulled over brown shoulders. I console you like a mother, I know love, I know. At the Thai restaurant, I pushed slippery noodles and steamed vegetables around my plate. Watch you bob, a broken machine, slow motion hand torpid towards your fork. You can't seem to find your mouth, so I flag down our waitress, who pretends not to notice you're boneless. She presses our leftovers into neat white boxes, a perfect fit. Outside, August marinates our skin, evaporates my compassion. I stand under streetlights in a yellow dress, fling expletives at you. Wet artillery rolls off your shrugging shoulders. You are enemy, slumped into yourself, an accident. I want to push you into traffic, make you disappear, until I remember you want that too. So I'm just going to read a few more. I want to thank Brookline Booksmith for having me. This was the first book store that I read at many moons ago, so I'm grateful to be back in this space. This one's called The Lex. It's about the Lexington, San Francisco. Whoop, whoop, it's gone. But it was a dope-ass bar. It was San Francisco's friendly neighborhood dyke bar. The Lex. We split a cigarette in the crowded bar, thick air stagnant with bourbon and mistakes. I ask if you want to beat me in pool. You lean a cue against the table, pause to rub the tip of your stick with blue chalk as I watch. Show me where you'll sink the 8. Name your hole. Aim. When I started writing this book, it was really an exploration of my young body and sexuality and how I learned about my body and other people's bodies. And then it kind of became a contemplation on desire. One of those desires being very badly wanting to become pregnant, and my struggles with fertility. So I'm going to read a couple of poems from that genre, and I promise to end light, which is what I always try to do. Mercury in Cancer. Swallowtails hover above bee-balm. I think Ouroboros, all in balance. July again, warm fade of days, edging toward September. The woodchuck unearths himself, decimates our heirloom tomatoes. I watch a brandywine plump and ripen. When I beckon my wife to the vine to show her what we've grown together, the creatures gnashed it open, dark pink, writhing with earwigs. I'm forever unpregnant. Who could be fertile in this time of loss? I'm made to hate my own wanting. Poem to my uterus, after Lucille Clifton. Bright wanderer, homing station set for the gathering, one tiny steaded heartbeat. You shed bright blood each monthly turn. I thought I'd trained you, how feeble my attempts to control my body, my worry, and still, you barren home, empty of anything resembling family. Each try, frozen and fresh, familiar and foreign, anonymous men I chose from glossy catalogs. This one plays basketball. This one plays piano. I bring them all to you, lay them bare, divide my thighs, hoping. But you, stubborn and polyped, pocked with fibroids, ever unwilling. I strive to line you with rich blood. One book says fresh pineapple. One says avocado. I eat whatever magic promises to make you take. Maybe I've ruined you with Accutane or decades of orthotricycline, pummeled the entry to your home with bleached water from public tubs. You, worried carafe, sweet doomed hovel, show me what you need to make a life. Lake Sunapee. I rise to find your face, awash in steam, dark coffee cupped between calloused hands, the morning bathed in sunlight, aspens cloaked in fresh snow. You look up from your book, eyes dark-rimmed, jungle cat, thirst slaked. When we first kissed, years ago, on a dance floor dimly lit with greenish light, I thought you wore mascara. Now I know your hunger, natural coal, black lashes, there before and after you wake. Home is where the kettle whistles. Midday, we return from local woods. I watch you pull a ribbon of honey into handmade mugs, sweeten 2 cups of tea. We sit quietly, at ease. Love, know this. You are who I asked for on my knees. Thank you.
Take off the mask without my earrings. There you go. Thank you so much. All right. On? Yes. Okay. So, like I say, everyone, my name is Syan J. I am actually going to be only reading one poem from my book, Bury Me in Thunder. The rest is some new things I've been working on. So the first poem is titled Time in Names and Found Things. We don't name our girls things that can die. Flowers are too oft subjugated to murder, decay. But what happens when I am not girl and not boy? Do I inhabit the name of ghosted things, undead things? Even seeds stomped into the ground are capable of returning. Part chimera of magic and honey, body painted in holy white and lightning. Come autumn, there will be another birthday for the not girl and not boy, with name that of a crow's rib cage. My lover and I talk about building a house, knowing we have translated ceremonies into unfamiliar skeletons before. I am still waiting for the resurrection of my body, planted in new grout and tissue, howling like an animal who has ripped its leg from a bear's mouth and sang with joy. I pray to the great creature who lingers on the edge of the river, unbleached of the words of white men. Yes, here the beast is found purposeful and good. It does not matter if it is a not girl and not boy. You do not look past the jaw that will swallow you whole. And yes, here is a place that exists only with song and tradition to take in loving things, even if the name of it holds death. So these next sets, the next 2 are kind of about like the end of the world, but from a place of like hope and love. And then I've been working on some friend love poems recently, and so I'm going to end on those. So this next one is titled Rapture in the Alfalfa. We have grown more in abandoned barns than I can count. Hay scratching behind knees, nervous fingers exploring hived collarbones. You ask if the barley will smell sugared when the world burns. I ask if we will remember how dust lingered during July dusk, kicked up by our fleeting rhythms. We watch farmers work from slats to blue sky, understanding then there are many ways to toil at the body. How lucky we were to discover we could become both dust devil and rolling field, tumbling to be revealed as more dizzied and certain than before. Do you remember, oh honeysuckle, oh sagebrush knuckles, what you said you would lay down on my altar? You do, but only in muscle memory. We made prophecy of desire, waking from sticky naps to cool fingers down the spine. In another, my mouth drowning you. Late summer storms always unsettled us, even when welcomed for its rain. This is what it is, to be both resistant and releasing. Or is it not knowing until touched with trust that the body can make room for more? You even learned this while tiptoeing towards forgetting me. Mother once found me ringleading an invisible circus, so who says I can't imagine you back with just as much belief? Heaving muscles, raise me a final time above the harvest. Did you think I did not know how the summer boys tired themselves? Shoulder blades, arcs of sweat, glinting back the sun before marking the earth with their emptying. I too tongue wrangled underskirts just as much as any of them did beneath the deserted bleachers. Maybe we only came to learn symptoms of dazzling heat stroke. I am not saying I know for certain, but we stayed feverish despite our best sweating. Surrender was found when the orb weaver silked down from the beams above, and you gave it wind from your mouth. As it floated towards new pastures, it spun yearnings for us to follow. This next one is titled Lineage of Water. It's one of my shorter guys. Shema, who guided my body from low sun. I was third to last harvest before deep winter set in her womb. Shema, who let me kiss her indigo palms, rubbed anxious against new denim. I inherited these hands, burnt wrung until blue in the face. Am I not a legacy of hemorrhaging, gutted cloud in the storm, loudest of children? My siblings were danced out of southern winds. It is no wonder how we twisted into each other, leaving etchings of rosy tributaries. How desperately we loved, yet believing too brave to let water escape us. Shema, somewhere the ghost of a lake is singing us plenty of rivers, carving the prayers we braid into each other's hair. Shema, I am hoping to outlive the next shadow that blots out horizon, my arms mid-butterfly, born already knowing the flood was coming. So for my last three, I've been working on, like I mentioned, some love poems for friends. These are very recent. One of them I literally finished last night. So this first one is titled Acts of Returning for Kai. Creator spins earth backwards, and the clock ticks away from me. I sidestep my own grave, while thunderheads mule back to their mother. Sky eating up its tongue, taste buds pinking clouds. And for a brief feeling, I am unkillable gossamer, webbed to ancestors I never see and am never far from. I kiss the tree stuccoed with eggshells, altar to where we hurled hurt safely at the world instead of our bodies. One of early lessons from Shima. Leave wreckage that feeds others. The lone skunk, uncountable worms. We have our final dance with despair before shimmying into safety's shadow, asking animals released from panicked lockjaws. We watch as garnet rivers reverse to veins reclaimed. As morning greets me for a second time, my eyes close and welcome sunrise. This next one is for my friend Natalie. It's funny, all these incidentally love poems for friends are also for other poets. Just so happen to work out that way. Natalie, we were published in Barrel House together. I just actually read with her over the weekend for the release of her second book. So I wrote this for her. It is titled Field Notes for a Braver Self. Here, I will invent language for you. Your body daring towards the sky is redwooding. Admire your growth. Your canopy becoming hairline of a moonbeam who sought hope and found abundance in starlight. I swear, when we met is when my bones learned courage. I watched you dance gravity to tenderness and became better for it. Here's a hypothetical. What if I gifted you the moon and all her listening? Would you glow, recognizing her radiance in yourself? For all you have grown in the orchards of heaven, my heart blooms for you. Imagine futures with all this bounty, soft daylight, cavernous mouths of laughter, children so unafraid. These dreams will feed us all, including each other. I confess, my BPM is horses galloping, all nervous speed, admiring the steadiness of your roots. Millennia is an anniversary of 1,000 years, all the time and wish I could adore you, if not for my body and the dying it must do. But while we are here together, I will tend to your bark, sweep off the pests as you reach towards the next constellation. And before I read my last one, I just want to say thank you to Brookline Booksmith. It's actually really funny, when I had my book debut, I did a virtual reading. It was supposed to be in person, but at the pandemic, it was switched to virtual, so this feels like a nice come around to be here in person to read again. So this last one is again a friend love poem. It's also kind of about celebrating platonic intimacy as well. So this last one is titled Tongue Tricksters for Levi. Oh, devilish snicker. Oh, lip-locking swarm of raucous laughter. We've known this place so many lifetimes before, traded between our jokes and spit. Tricksters snag in all the stories. How would we be any different as friends fisting their way to mythos? There is a holiness and playful desire, the trust of a throat begging to be held, eager nods when asking for more, giggling at the sweat and slit we left before watching another movie. What can glow more than elations born from the ceremony of friendly flirtation? We buzz, tongue tricked with confidence. Twist us into any room. We make magic with anyone up for quick kisses and the certainty of sweet treats. We make medicine from teasing each other, celebrating the love we gathered while others tried to take it we bask in our nowness. O tender lustings, O feral friend, I wonder where we will find each other next, what names we will celebrate with grinned recognition, remembering where to stroke best and how you like your coffee, our loud and lovely flesh dancing us home again. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm really happy to have been here with you all tonight.
All right. It's the first poem in the book. It is called The Future of Juice. I give everything to this world and take nothing, my mother said to me as I sniffed containers of juice and at the sour sting of mold poured them out into the sink. I'm listening, I said. Meanwhile, the 7 billionaires who control that world were dancing a secret dance, commanding the course of juice futures, and funding paramilitary forces deployed against the bodies of my friends. The morning was long, and the arc of justice seemed infinitely wide. In fact, barriers were already being erected to prevent it from coming around. By the time those walls were completed, my own body had been thrown into jeopardy, and my mother no longer recognized it and would not take it into her protection. The forces were out in their riot gear, guarding the markets and fighting the starving hordes for their right to kill. Yet, still, those 7 billionaires, some now trillionaires, assured us all that the future of juice was secure. End of poem. It may be relevant to note that I was a tech worker for Amazon.com for a little over 3 years. That's over now. Moving on. No. Next. I may have prepared for this a little bit. All right. No. Well. Ugh. All right. This is a good one to go next. This is a shorter poem, and it's about business cards. Now, mind you, I wrote this back in the age of Facebook being a useful tool for self-promotion as a poet, musician, etc. It's not anymore. I have business cards that I hand to people now. This book, I'm out of author copies, out of pocket, that aren't spoken for. But you can order them thanks to Bonnie. Anywho, business cards. The bushes are flush with business cards. The children are having a yard sale in 40 Point, Helvetica. Hear the birds linking to their fan pages while the breeze tugs, whoops, angles toward a sponsorship with a proper, new, popular brewery. My band is playing a show at this bar on Tuesday. It would be cool to see you. Check out the clouds, each plastered into an odd shape. Must be part of a high-concept viral marketing campaign. We might get rain soon. I'm just going to do the other short poem that's on this spread. It's a very well laid out book. The editors did a good job. This is from when I was technically without a home in Northampton, Massachusetts in the year of 2011. It was pretty chill in that my friends let me sleep on couches, but that had to end. And anyway, this is the poem. It is called 2 Seasons of Crashing. I was pacing the edge of town until the house had gone to bed, so I could get on the couch and not look at anybody. I hid from a downpour beneath the awning of the rug emporium. A sparrow flew into one of the display windows, and then flew into another display window, and then flew off into the hard rain. This is another poem from around that time, 2011. I wrote it probably on my friend Charlie's couch. You know. And it was called In the Event That You Are Unemployed to Death, but I've changed the title recently to In the Event That You Are Sentenced to Death by the Economy. Stovetop popcorn and hand-rolled cigarettes will gild your passage through the crisis. You will disintegrate into Jackie from Alaska's couch and into the sunset over a colonial cemetery. A pelican that passes overhead may happen to inhale the smoke, but will not experience wistfulness or consider its own context in American history. Sugar may be sprinkled over the popcorn once the oil sizzles to create the illusion of carnivals. A rose may be grabbed out of nature and handed to the prettiest individual at the carnival, or, if a rose cannot be located, one acceptable and inexpensive substitute is secret home-popped popcorn. Unpopped kernels left untended may flee back into Jackie's cupboard, flipping their brown little wings to chew up everybody's cereal and laundry. And so it behooves you always to leave the popcorn on the stove until each of the kernels has popped. You are also encouraged to note that rose bushes are not permissible in the cemetery and will be confiscated from the grave. All right. I think I have 2 more. One is short, one is slightly less short, but that's okay. I think. I think I can get it in there. Time constraints. They're useful. This poem is about a Jewish ritual bath that is called a mikveh. You may be familiar with it. This is Brookline, Massachusetts, after all, and I am Jewish. I think that's enough of a setup. I had this mikveh in particular because I was transitioning in terms of my gender from one gender into the gender that I am now, which is genderqueer, as was mentioned. This is called Gender Transition Mikveh, March 2019. Having stripped off the skirt and the jewelry and wiped off the lipstick amidst the beard, eyes and body cleansed of all adornments, fussed over and fought for against stubborn family elders, yet fawned over by kind friends. I dip my fresh old self into the warm, still water, over and over for the attendants, amen. And when they wrap me back into the towel, and I open the door leading back to my effects, now with even cleaner nails and face and being, even now, I see a new queer lovely in the mirror, the changing creature that I lead the charge to love. All right, now, I don't have a full length out yet. I feel like it'll probably happen for me. I've submitted it to some good places. I don't want to go on about that. I've heard some very good love poems and had to take a break. I hope nobody took offense. We'll talk later. Anywho, this is the poem I want to leave off with because it is a love poem and it is for a particular person, but it is also not just for a particular person. That is why it is a poem, and I do not mention that person's name. She is alive, thank goodness. But that is the most I want to say about that. Also, I like to cook. I cook Italian food and other types. I ate a pizza not long ago. Anywho, it's great pizza next door. Company, my friends. Oh, pizza. I don't think this poem mentions pizza, but there's other Italian food. Thank goodness. Oh, this is ode to a certain level of heat. Counterintuitive as it may seem, the most passionate stove setting is medium low. I mean no disrespect to high heat or the crisp gifts that its kiss delivers. However, when I stir garlic on medium low heat for no longer than one verse of a song, or bring a briskly boiling sauce down to a persistent simmer for an amount of time most aptly described as however long it takes, I am using the flame to say, I love you in the steadiest and gentlest way of which I am capable. Oh, lost my place. That makes sense. Yeah, I love you in the steadiest and gentlest way of which I am capable. Take of this warmth and make of it what you will. My heart is your chafing dish. This is to say nothing of the slow burn of memories, each particular meal and its myriad savors and labors. Nothing of the beets my lover and I managed to pan-fry despite our lack of a plan, or the kit for lasagna I left in their fridge. This is only to say, the deepest care comprises the slightest work. Sure, by now you suspect me of attempting to sell you a crock pot. So, let me admit, the beets were tender enough, but from a critical distance and unexceptional course. I never learned the fate of that lasagna. I cook most meals for myself. Still, I watch the flame to keep it short and blue for the sake of the garlic. Thank you.
Thank you to all three of you for sharing your incredible poetry. We do have a few minutes for a Q&A, so if folks have any questions, feel free to just raise your hand, and I'll call on you from over here. Anybody? Do you have questions for each other at all? It's okay if you don't. I just want to give you the opportunity.
No. I have small questions. So with exploring your book around like bodily autonomy, things like that, as far as like through the course of the book, how was it for you being able to explore and write about that through these poems? My book, which again I did not read much from, also had similar ideas of kind of bodily autonomy, so I wanted to see what your experience was like with this book, which, by the way, I loved your poems that you read.
Is this on? Should be. Let's flip it up, I think. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I think as far as like the shape of the book, I took a master class with Bidey Francis and Curtis Bauer, and they talked a lot about, what the book is about as a whole. My wife is also a computer programmer and like coder, and so created an algorithm to figure out what are the most frequent used words in the book. So that was actually how I figured out what the book was about. I was like, want, like one of those like flashes. So that was really helpful in just figuring out the book as a whole. And I think the other thing that I've heard about like creating the arc of a collection is looking at the last poem
Yeah.
in the book before, and that was kind of like an entry point into queerness, and so then like sexuality and desire kind of like came from there. But, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say, speaking as somebody who's attempted to put together full-length manuscripts, it succeeded, but not from a poetry standpoint, for approximately, 15 to 20 years. More like 10 to 15. That makes a lot of sense to me. It's a good process.
Yeah.
And I'm very interested to have heard that answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, with the incorporation of the word count that you talked about, that's really interesting, because I think that we're approaching a very compelling intersection of coding and art.
Oof.
We're there.
May I ask, which meanings of the word coding would you like to focus on?
Oh, I mean,
Because,
yeah, absolutely.
this is a good one. This is a good word choice. That's all.
It's a good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
many in every sense, I suppose.
Okay.
We got a question in the back.
Not a question, more a comment.
Oh, no.
Author, and I'm sorry I didn't catch your name. I just wanted to say that your final two lines, Cyan Delights, were monumentally impactful for me. So thank you for that. It was like really it hit and it stopped like black. Also thank you for the nostalgia trip to different Bay Area places. As soon as I heard that when I heard Muir Beach, I was like, whoa. So thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. We have time for like probably one or two more questions if anyone has any. Go ahead.
My question is for next day. What simile stuck with you the most throughout that editing process? Which simile do you think was your most untouched one?
Ooh, interesting. Because now I actually have to think about my book and then writing it and going through that. I think there's actually some lines in like the last poem about my mother that I think had some really beautiful like lines and similes. But one about, because it's a dream that I had about her when I was taking care of her after she had her stroke. And part of it was this hypersensitivity to like noise and sensory things, and how during these certain moments she would have this reaction, like when hail hits a tin roof and the dog shakes, and just like thinking about those very like sensory experiences with her. So I think there's a lot in that particular poem, which is called Silver O. If you check out the book, it's the last one in there. Yeah, I think that one's a special one. Thanks, Levi.
All right, we do have time for one more question. If anyone, go right ahead.
Thank you so much for sharing your poetry with us. This is an open question for all poets. We obviously heard you recite your poetry and speak it to us. I'm wondering if there was any thought or like process in the form of the poetry on paper, if that was a part of the writing and or editing process for it.
So if you didn't catch it, it was about whether or not the form on paper was part of your editing process. Because of course we all heard you read aloud, and it's for all three of you. So.
So obviously there's a lot of ways to go when I answer that question, but for me, I like to write prose poems. I always have. Well, not always, but I was coming from a prose background, going into undergrad at Emerson, by which I just mean I was writing stories and essays, and then I just was also writing songs, and my professors and everybody, I was studying, and I was like, oh yes, pare it down, Kafka this, and yada yada, James Tate, Peter J. Shippey was one of my professors, Alton Jones is another, I could go on, but I was justifying the prose because I liked the nice even, like a newspaper. I still do that, sometimes, but what I've learned pretty recently is that apparently that makes it harder for some people to read, just because of various reading difficulties. It makes it a little easier for me as a reader. It's just kind of, oh yeah, nice. But then, well, Alex Meyer, I always forget whether it's Meyer or Mayer, and I always feel bad, but anyway, it just, I mean, if you look at this just for a moment, this is journalism style. There's hyphens, you know. I didn't do any of that in the manuscript. I just had sent it to I fired it off to a few places, including Yamasi Journal, thank goodness, because look at this. It is cool looking. The hyphens, because there's a certain style of breaking the words, really helps you to stop on certain longer words. But then in the book, it's not laid out that way. If you'll see, it's just right justified like anything else. I mean, I have other forms. There's cinquains. I also use couplets, triplets. But like, I mean, if you look at this is just not my decision, but a great one. It's supposed to look like organ reeds. That was, that's poetry concrete, but the editor improved it. Just like, oh, let's just do those long lines. Anywho, I still enjoy either just block of text or just picking the line break so that it kind of goes flush to the edge of the, Anyway, I think that's enough of a window into my process. We'll see next time on that one.
For myself, I think it's kind of a mix of a few things. At least in the book, there is a lot of nature involved. I think sometimes part of how I write lines will follow like a movement. Part of how I will write is and where I find the line breaks is as I'm reading it out loud. I also tend to sometimes have that kind of meter kind of song thing. Part of that is just from growing up as a kid, going to powwows and just keeping beat with the drum. I also was a drummer for a little bit. So I think sometimes it just follows a curvature of kind of where the poem is wanting to go sometimes. So I'm not super held to a form. But when I always read it back, those line breaks is just where I feel that natural kind of pause in my breath. And then editors, at least for the book, will go through and sometimes have made some minor edits or just conversations about some form. But I also appreciate when it can just be however it needs to be, and how it comes out in that process and where that form is going to take itself.
I echo that comment about the breath, just thinking about breath and spaciousness. Ooh, that wasn't on count. I think a lot about that when I'm writing.
Absolutely. I love the idea of breath informing the way things look on the page. Beautiful. Well, we are out of time, but I do want to just thank you all for being here. This is the first of hopefully many poetry readings monthly. Check us out online, brooklinebooksmith.com. So thank you to our audience, and thank you to the three of you. It was such a lovely time, and thank you for sharing your work with us. It was truly wonderful. So thank you for being here, everyone.
Thank you.
Let's give them a round of applause.